Ecuador's Constitutional Court on Wednesday admitted an impeachment proceeding against President Guillermo Lasso. The Peruvian Congress debates on Thursday a motion of vacancy against the same President Boluarte. Kenya opposition leader Raila Odinga leads the third day of protests against the high cost of living and beefing up security. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. Ecuador's Constitutional Court on Wednesday admitted the impeachment proceeding against President Guillermo Lasso. The request for admissibility of the proceeding against Lasso was approved during a plenary session with 6 votes in favor and 3 abstentions. The resolution is based on the second draft opinion prepared by Judge Alice Lozada and Richard Ortiz. On the other hand, the Legislative Board now has 3 days to study the report and then send it to the Oversight Commission, which was approximately 1 month to gather evidence so that the President can exercise his right to defense. Subsequently, the trial will go to the plenary of the Assembly, and there 92 votes will be needed to censure and remove Lasso from office. Following the decision of Ecuador's Constitutional Court, the impeachment process now returns to the National Assembly for it to move forward. Let's see how this process that seeks to prosecute the President of Ecuador, Guillermo Lasso, over corruption charges has been progressing.
The ruling of Judge Richard Ortiz declaring the admissibility of the impeachment trial against the head of state was approved by the Constitutional Court. A key element for the approval was the vote in favor of at least 6 of the 9 members of said body. Initially, the court appointed Judge Teresa Núñez, who, on Monday, delivered a draft proposal suggesting the court not to admit the impeachment trial. However, her proposal only received 3 votes in favor, meaning it was not approved. The recently approved proposal will now go to the National Assembly, whose President Virgilio Saquicela will present it before the Legislative Board of Directors within 3 days so the process can officially begin. The legislative body will then forward it to the Oversight Committee of the Parliament, which will notify President Guillermo Lasso so he can exercise his right to a defense and present his response to the accusations. The plenary will debate and finally make a decision. If it reaches 92 votes in favor, which constitutes a qualified majority of the Assembly members, Lasso will be impeached and removed from his duty as head of state. In addition, he will not be able to hold public office for the following 2 years. This is the first time in more than 90 years that an Ecuadorian president is the subject of an impeachment trial. The original request reached the court on March 24th after the National Assembly approved a report accusing him of corruption in a series of shady businesses within public companies.
In Ecuador, police forces report on Thursday that a man was strapped with explosive hatched by criminal individuals. The incident occurred in the South 9 north of Guayaquil next to the municipal market. According to the first report, the man was a security guard at the journalist hoard. In social networks, users claimed that unknown persons had placed explosive on the man's body. In addition, residents of the sector believe that those who did it are illegal groups that extort local businesses owners with threats of death, in return demand large amounts of money. According to the residents, they control the sector and violently assault those who do not want to pay the fees they impose. Anti-bomb teams and in the intervention and rescue groups of the National Police arrived in the scene to verify the situation. On Thursday, the Peruvian Congress will debate a motion of vacancy presented by a group of legislators against President designed Boluarte. Among the parliamentaries benches promoting the vacancy motion stands up Perú Democrático, Perú Libre, Bloque Magistral, Perú Bicentenario, Podemos Perú, and Cambio Democrático, Juntos por el Perú. The solicitants requested Congress to declare the Boluarte's permanent moral incapacity as prevented in Article 113.2 of the Political Constitution of Peru to regulate a presidential succession in parallel leftist political and social organizations hold the president accountable for the death of more than 60 Peruvians during the protests against her administration, as well as for the usurping power. During a meeting of the Council of Ministers of Cuba held on Wednesday, President Miguel Díaz-Canel highlighted the results of the recent legislative elections in the midst of a complex context due to the academic asphyxia that largest of the Antilles is going through.
What is truly significant here is that in the last 6 months in the life of this country, in the mix of this complex situation we are going through, we have held 3 highly significant elections: family code, municipal elections and national elections. In 6 months, in the mix of these conditions, an act of courage of the revolution.
On the other hand, the Cuban president celebrated a high turnout in the elections in which 470 deputies were elected to the National Assembly, which represents a sign of support for the revolutionary process.
Almost 76% participation. That would not have been possible if the people didn't continue trusting the revolution. This percentage are one of the best in any electoral process in any part of the world. In terms of participation, therefore, I believe that the people gave a sample of civicness, but also of patriotism, of loyalty to the revolution, of fidelity, of political awareness, showing that if you know and if you feel who is the real cause of the situation we are facing.
Finally, President Díaz-Canel rejected this criticization campaign carried out by the hegemonic press against the Cuban electoral process.
A certain counter-revolutionary press wants to make a party with the election results in Cuba and presents them as the great abstentions. But this is the same press that makes up the election results of the first world nations, when the participation in these processes does not reach 60%, and they are nations that are neither blockaded nor attacked nor are subjected to the huge discreditation campaign. Then one should ask why this bias and tendentious look against Cuba. Simple, because sometimes we do not believe it. We are an example to the world.
Let's take a very short break now, but remember, you can now follow us on our TikTok account as teleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. In the U.S., a train carrying ethanol derailed in southwest Minnesota on Thursday, causing a number of cars to burn into flames. The derailment occurred just inside the city of Ryman, with authorities confirming that some of the cars were carrying ethanol and corn syrup. Meanwhile, police established an evacuation zone of the whole mile, asking people to leave their homes and providing shelters in a nearby town. They added there were no injuries as a result of the crash or the emergency response, and that BNSF rebel personnel were on the ground to help at this scene. The U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter crashed in Kentucky during a training mission on Wednesday night, with authorities reporting around 90 casualties. According to a statement issued by the Army base early Thursday, the helicopter from the 101st Airborne Division assaults crashed at around 10 p.m. on Wednesday in Kentucky's Trick County, northwest of the Fort Campbell. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear has said earlier that fatalities were expected as Kentucky police and emergency management were responding as the incident was under investigation. From the Campbell is home to the 101st Airborne Division, the U.S. Army's only air assault division activated in August 1942. In Japan, the inaugural Prize 7 summit was held in Tokyo with the aim of getting the Japanese government to acknowledge rights for the LGBTQA+ community. Japanese activists launched a civil engagement group to make a policies proposal ahead of the G7 summit to be held in Japan. Japan is the only member of the bloc that lacks a law to protect the rights of sexual diversity. The Prize 7 projects plans to make proposals to advance same-sex marriage rights motion and a law against LGBTQI+ discrimination in Japan while addressing the problem in other Asian countries.
Japan, as the only G7 member in Asia and this year's G7 summit chair country, so it is in a unique position to lead concrete efforts to address SOGI, that is, sexual orientation, gender identity and expression issues, including the development of a legislation.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov will visit Turkey on April the 6th and the 7th to hold talks with his Turkish counterpart Mevlut Cavusoglu. This was announced by the Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova on Thursday. The information stated that the officials will first all discuss the state and prospect of bilateral cooperation in areas of mutual interest, including trade, energy, and tourism. He also said that the exchange of views on relevant issues on the regional and international agenda will continue, including the current situation in Ukraine, issues related to Syria and Nagorno-Karabakh, as well as Central Asia and Afghanistan. Following a severe drought last summer, which parched most of France, President Emmanuel Macron went to the Savines-le-Lac community in the French Alps to present a water supply plan for all industries in preparation for possible situations of great stress next summer.
As we did regarding energy, we will ask each sector to draw up a water sobriety plan by summer. In the next few days, the minister will bring together all the sectors concerned: energy, industry, tourism, leisure, agriculture. It works when everyone knows what the situation is, when everyone is made aware of their responsibilities, and when we know that it is a shared effort. But we do know that because of the specificity of certain territories, the isolation of certain communities, we cannot rule out situations of great stress next summer, in spite of this plan, which I would call of emergency and reduction of our consumption, therefore of sobriety.
Emmanuel Macron made his announcement outside. Demonstrators gathered to state they are still in rebellion and unwilling to be apprehended after the government's force through a highly unpopular pension reform. Protesters at the site were met with violence from an riot police.
We came here peacefully, and we are absolutely stunned to see how the riot police behaves when there is absolutely no need for it. For we have just come to express our discontent, and they not only forbid us to be there, but they have crushed us. It's sheer violence. We are here because we are not satisfied with the reforms, and especially because we are not being heard, and we don't have rights anymore.
He is evading the issue. Supposedly, he's come to talk about water to appease. But in fact, at this point, we don't want to be appeased at all. This is a rebellion.
TeleSUR English continues to grow. You can now tune in from 33 different African countries through StarSat. $461 and join our Latin American alternative broadcast. One final short break and we'll be right back. Welcome back. On Thursday, 4 policemen were killed in Pakistan by the roadside bomb as they scrambled to protect a police station. Taliban Pakistan fighters launched a heavy weapon assault on early hours of the day against the police station in Lakimar in the district Pakintua province on the border with Afghanistan. Senior local police official Mohammad Askab reported that 4 officers, including a deputy superintendent, have been killed by them as they rushed through the fight in a planned attack of terrorism. On Thursday, Kenyan opposition leader Raila Odinga led the third day of protests against the high cost of living and beef of security. Hundreds of protesters gathered at the opposition politicians' convoy as it passed through some Nairobi neighborhoods. Odinga has called for protests every Monday and Thursday, accusing President William Ruto of stealing last year's elections and failing to control the rising cost of living. On Thursday, Palestinians demonstrated in the Israeli-Gaza border to mark Palestinian Land Day. Palestinians gathered near the Israeli-Gaza border barrier for a rally to mark the Palestinian Land Day. For the last 47 years, the Palestinian people have commemorated the day by holding rallies in the occupied West Bank, the Gaza Strip, and Arab villages throughout Israel. The Land Day is of special significance to the Palestinians because it was the first time since 1948 that Palestinians in Israel organized a collective response to Israeli police. On March the 30th, 1976, thousands of Palestinians in northern Galilee region demonstrated against the seizure by Israeli of largest tract of Arab land, prompting Israeli troops to use lethal force, killing 6 Palestinians. The demonstrations first kicked off in the town of Deir Hana and was met by heavy brutality by Israeli police. This was followed by further protests in the towns of Arab in the Galilee region, during which 1 Palestinian was killed and dozens more injured by Israeli forces. Palestinians and Israeli Arab in northern Israel marched with Palestinian flags and chanted songs in the Arab-Israeli city of Sakin toward the Land Day. The demonstrators emphasized the importance of these days for the cause of the Palestinian people.
In the face of the fascist government, Land Day is the answer, as it represents national unity in a struggle. They ask us not to hold the Palestinian flag, and more people start carrying the Palestinian flag. They demand to cancel Nakba Day, and more people commemorate it. They have always been seeking to distort our national belonging, but every time we affirm our Palestinian belonging in a more assertive and deeper way.
The non-governmental organization Defense for Children International denounced on Thursday the excessive and lethal force systematically used by Israeli army against Palestinian children. So far this year, the security forces of Israel have killed 17 Palestinian minors, the NGO stated in a report, in addition to the numerous physiological damage caused in the children, which are manifested in the behavior, thoughts, and academic performance. Thai authorities used helicopters on Thursday to try to contain a fire that engulfed 2 mountains overnight on largest undeveloped forest land in a province northwest of the capital, Bangkok. The fire broke out on Wednesday in Nayok province, over 100 kilometers northeast of Bangkok, but firefighters could not directly tackle it because the mountains are too steep up to safely climb. At least 10 firefighters' vehicles were dispatched to battle the blaze, and they were joined by at least 2 helicopters which surveyed the situation and dumped the water.
In addition to the direction of the wind, I must also ensure the life and safety of those carrying out the operation. After reviewing the situation, since it is on the top of the mountain, we had to withdraw and stand by to meet and see what we can do tomorrow.
We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our socials. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram as well. For TeleSUR English, and from the South, I'm Ana Marrero, and thank you for watching.